Okay.
Good afternoon, YWCA viewers. This is Series 2, Episode 7 of The Butterfly Effect, sponsored by Pursuit. Pursuit provides businesses with affordable loans and resources so that they can transform and grow. They are an Albany-based, community-focused lender, 100% invested in the success of their clients. If you're a small business owner looking for funds to start, grow, or recover, you can learn more at www.pursuitlending.com. So the Butterfly Effect is an empowerment series where volunteer hosts interview inspiring women in the community. My name is Amy Aldrich, and today, talk about inspiring and empowerment, we have Anzala Alozie. So Anzala, welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We're going to learn a lot about you, and I'm going to take just a couple minutes and read through some of your incredible bio, and then I want to turn it over to you and we'll go through some questions, okay?
Sure.
All right. So Anzala is a social impact strategist, change maker, and executive. She is a recognized leader on women's and girls' empowerment, leadership development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Anzala's expertise includes organizational development and management, strategic planning, global policy, DEI culture and systemic change, strategic partnerships, program development, and transformational leadership and social change. Wow. She is a national speaker and trainer. Anzala is the executive director of youth development at the Capital District YMCA. She also presents leadership development and empowerment training and workshops across the nation. Anzala also spent several years representing survivors of domestic violence with immigration issues. Anzala has also worked on federal and local legislative issues that impact women and girls. She's a board member of the National Women of Color Network, a board trustee of the Albany Leadership High School for Girls, board member of Upper Hudson Planned Parenthood, advisory council member of Mission Accomplished Services, serves on the Key Bank Advisory Council, and a member of Chief. Anzala is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and Jack and Jill of America. She graduated from Albany Law School of Union University and Purchase College. So this is only a portion of your bio, Anzala, but I don't want anybody to listen to me about you. I want to hear about you from you. So let's start with, tell us a little bit more, other than everything that I just read that's so impressive, about you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that introduction. So, as you stated, I am currently the Executive Director of Youth Development with the Capital District YMCA, and also just involved in a multitude of community-based organizations, either through volunteer services or just supporting and advisory roles that really focus on transformational change and impact. So I think I am obsessed with seeing some lasting change during my lifetime. And one of my most, if not the most important role in my life right now is that I'm the mother of 4 young folks. I have 3 beautiful sons and an absolutely wonderful, beautiful daughter. So, that fuels a lot of the areas of interest that relate to how we live in community with each other, but also really trying to change the experiences that young folks have, women have, girls have, but also that it's sustainable. So I'm really, really committed to doing that kind of work. And it doesn't even feel like work anymore. It just feels like, my life's passion and purpose.
Outstanding. So how little are your little ones?
So not so little. So I have a 19-year-old son who is a college student at Morehouse. I have a 16-year-old who is a junior in high school. I have a high school freshman, and my daughter, who is the youngest, is a 6th grader. So I have middle school as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I thought you were busy after I read your bio. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, what a great inspiration for all your kids, and in particular your daughter.
Oh, thank you
I
so much.
hope she's
I hope.
watching or can see the replay of this.
Oh, I will absolutely have them check it out.
Great. Anzala, who inspired you when you were young?
That is such a great question. And I thought about it. There were so many people that inspired me. First, I will say my mother. She is an indomitable spirit. She, I always tell people, if there's anything that you really like about me, you can thank my mom. She really guided and crafted my experiences as a young person, especially as a young Black girl, to see the world full wide open and to really take advantage of every opportunity to pursue my curiosity. So my mother for sure. And I just have to give her a shout out that she's been retired for 10 years. She was an executive with a New York City Transit Authority, and she has been retired for 10 years. And most recently, last year, she started a business incubator program. She's a jewelry maker, and we've been telling her forever. She makes absolutely beautiful jewelry. And we've been telling her forever that, you need to start a business. And she's like, no, I just like making jewelry. So last year she did. She spent time during a program in Westchester and has launched her own jewelry line, Mimi Blackstone Couture. So just even at 76, she is still like just pursuing all opportunities that come her way. So my mother for sure. And, there were just so many wonderful people in my life as a young person that I was really raised in the backdrop of like social activism, community organizing, and really looking at social issues and social inequity, even at that time. But, also what can you do from wherever you sit? So there are so many people in that realm. But I would say the what that really inspired me was, this concept that we are now calling transformational change, right? Mm-hmm. Transformational change as an individual, also as a community, and then just, on social issues, broadly. So I was really, really inspired and motivated. And I didn't think so at the time, because I just remember sitting in meetings, listening to all of the adults talk about how were we going to change this and change that. And it's just like, why do I have to be here? But it really informed so much of who I am, how I think about things, but also understanding that empowerment piece that, you have inherent power to create change. And so, those experiences really shaped, how I really pursue everything, just even for my own personal development. I identify something that I'd either like to explore or something that I need to work on. And then it becomes a process, and it's part of who I am.
That's fantastic. So in retrospect, you were blessed to have to sit through all those
meetings.
Truly. Look what it did for you and for all of those around you.
Thank you. But truly, yes, absolutely. It was a blessing. And I had to humble myself at some point and say, you know what, Mom, I really thank you for making us sit through those meetings. And, we didn't have phones during that time. We may have had notebooks or, schoolwork to do, but, we had to be there, and we were absorbing and paying attention, even if we didn't think we were. And it has been very beneficial for me.
Clearly. So I just want to tell all of our viewers, we're going to go for like an hour and a half today, because I just want to keep digging in here. So, no, that's okay. We'll continue this off camera. All right. Through all these experiences, you talked about who inspired you, but have you had, or do you have a mentor?
I have many mentors. Absolutely. I've always had mentors, and I think that it is so important to have people that who, one, understand you, two, know how to connect with you to help you achieve whatever your goals are or whatever plans are, and even just, process through, right? So process through experiences, what we perceive to be challenges, and I have many mentors. I always have, and they have been lifelines. It's through not only just my professional, experiences, but also combining, we always talk about like work-life balance, especially women at work, and I remember my very first mentor at Albany Law School, she said, it's not really about work-life balance, it's about harmony, right? So that's always your goal, is really how do all of the important pieces of your life and the important priorities. So there isn't one priority that may be more important than the other, but how do you create a situation where you can find harmony and not feel bad about it, right? Because so much of, my experience in talking with other women, especially women in leadership, there's this guilt, mothers, there's this mom guilt. That's a whole other subject of a show in terms of the guilt that women, society places on women for, pursuing themselves and pursuing, and having multiple priorities. It's usually, we're socialized that it's this one thing above them all. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget when she said that to me. It was my second year of law school. And she said, it's about harmony. So I would say Catherine Katz, and she has transitioned since then, but she is always honored at Albany Law School. She was a wonderful mentor for me. And I've always had really excellent mentors along the way. Sharon Cates Williams, who works with the state education department as executive commissioner. She's just, these people are just blessings. Mm-hmm. So, and then I also have mentors that are much younger than me. And I learned so much from young folks that I'm around, and they are mentoring me in different, like, they can't be your mentors. They don't have enough experience. I said they have their own experiences, and they have enough of their own experiences, which are so different than where I am at this stage in my life, that they're absolutely mentoring me. So I do have some young folks that, absolutely mentor me as well.
That's fantastic. And, that's such an important, the harmony piece I love, because I think all of us think work-life balance means equal attention to everything. And that's just not, it's not possible.
That's right. That's right.
And I applaud you for having youthful mentors, because there are so many things that are up and coming, and we really need to focus on having someone bring us into the 21st century on some of those things. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So how did you come to be in your current role at the YMCA?
So interestingly enough, prior to the YMCA, I was a vice president at Girl Scouts. And while I was there, I sat on the Youth Development Committee, which was a board committee for the Y. And I absolutely loved the work that the Y was doing. I loved my work at Girl Scouts as well, had been there for several years. And there was the vice president of philanthropy at that time kept saying, "Oh my goodness, we want you to come over to the Y." I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm happy at Girl Scouts." And it was a full court press. Like, so, I served in that capacity for 2 years, but really just becoming more familiar. I think we all know, or think we know, what the YMCA does. And we're often thinking of buildings, our, what we would say, gym and swim, childcare programs. But, some of the work that occurred in the youth development realm was just so powerful. So for example, our youth in government program and the Black and Latino Achievers program, we revitalized the Global Immersion program, which really provides opportunities for high school and college students to travel abroad and do a service learning project, as well as, really be immersed in culture. So, when the opportunity presented itself, and she was relentless. I mean, relentless. She was like, "Really, I think this would be such a good fit for you." And I talked with my mentors, and they said, "Tell me why not? Mm-hmm. Why not as a next step?" And so I did. And this September, that just passed, makes 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And lucky them.
Oh, thank you.
Lucky them. So it is the YMCA. So how does your identity as a woman play a role in, being a large representative of the YMCA?
I believe that my identity as a woman, as a Black woman, informs all of the work I do. And it allows me, such a good question, but, I don't separate out that identity. I think that there are things that we can see based on our lived experiences through our identities that give us a different lens or a different vantage point that, really can be helpful to the work that we're seeking to do. And, I also can understand how we sometimes try to disassociate powerful identities, right? Play into stereotypes around them, whatever the case may be. But, I really have come to really embrace and understand that, my identity as a woman really impacts the work, the focus, the direction, some of the processes, on how we get things done, and really thinking about and that this is exclusive to gender at all, but the inclusivity, the inclusive nature and the connecting nature for me as a woman, it allows me to really look at my work to make sure to say, okay, well, who's not here, and we haven't heard from this person, and how can we get to that person, that community, that neighborhood, that issue. So it really allows for me to connect, and yeah, I would say to connect, but it really does inform so much of how I do things and why I do things.
Thank you. Based on what you know now, what advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
I love this question. I love this question. Oh my goodness. So in thinking about 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that I would tell 21-year-old Anzala.
That was 5 years ago.
Oh, I love you. You are the best. No, more than 20. So I would tell her, trust yourself, your intuition. What I love that's happening right now, especially in leadership, is the resurgence of emotional intelligence being a guidepost, right, for influencing, connecting, leading people, but also trusting yourself. So, I was really into that at that age, and still am. But, I just recalled all of the other messages that, no, those aren't the, hard business skills. You need to have, these other things. And, emotional intelligence is important, but, you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And like I said, I love that it has really shown its importance, especially during this pandemic, on why it's so important to understand emotional intelligence, but also our own intuition, being in touch with who we are, how we feel about things, what our gut is telling us based on the information that we have, what our intuition is telling us with information that we need to receive. And, as a 21-year-old, I was really driven by my intuition. And that also lent itself to a fearlessness of, all of the no's, all of the, why would you do it that way? And it's just like, okay, well, thank you for your opinion. I'm going to do it anyway. Right. So, and there was just this fire, fierceness, and fearlessness, as a 21-year-old that I think you can lose along the way with, external voices and influences, and even, lived experience and maybe wisdom. Right. But, that is when I look at things that I was involved in at 21, and how did you do that? And how did you get that done? It was because there was this fierceness, and it was really fueled by passion. I think now, again, 20 plus years later, it's like, oh, you're too passionate about that, and to hear that, especially when it's something that you care deeply about, something that you're obviously passionate about, it's not helpful. And it's that passion that really makes things happen. Right. And so I would tell 21-year-old Anzala to remain fierce, and trust your intuition, and really rely on how to figure things out, because things got figured out, and it was less stressful. There was less anxiety at that time. So
true. Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I see that this is an issue or a challenge or a real problem, but I trust that it's going to work itself out. And not just trusting that it's going to work itself out, but here are all of the things that I will do, even though it might be hard. People are saying it can't be done. It's a waste of time. I'm going to do it anyway and end up with whatever I end up with. So,
well, that passion just shines out of you. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So what do you want other women to know other than, is it similar to what you want your 21-year-old self to know, or your 21 plus however many years self to remember?
Yes. Oh, the power that we have, as women, the power that we have in connection with each other as women. We are able to move mountains. We are able to do that. And, again, we first have to believe it. And sometimes even if we're half believing it, we have to do it. Right. So, waiting, I hear lots about, waiting for a seat at the table, and no, we're not going to wait for a seat at a table. We're going to do other things. Right. Even if it's like setting a whole new table, or, we don't even care about the table. We're sitting on the floor today. Whatever it is. We have so much power when we are unapologetically ourselves, and we are unapologetically committed to making some kind of change. And when we're doing it together in unity, and it doesn't mean that, connecting with each other doesn't mean that we won't have disagreements or different approaches and different strategies, but if we can find our ways together, that I love empowerment, but we're inherently powerful. It is just, I believe, our divine birthright as women, and in connection with each other. Again, we can move mountains, and we are unstoppable.
I just have chills. Truly, that is such an amazing message.
Yeah. Thank you. True, and I believe it. I believe it with all of my heart. I truly do. Truly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So, what is an interview question that you've never been asked but would really like to answer?
An interview question that I have, I stumbled an interview question that I have never been asked, but would like to answer.
And what would your answer be?
So, I think, when it comes to interview processes, and especially for things like work, but, even when people are getting to know you, I always love questions that really force me to dig deep and back into myself. So some of these questions today, really, I'm like, okay, what would I tell 20? I would write a book to her, right? So I would always like the interview question to be something that's a little divergent, right? Like, what is your favorite food? Or what's something about you that nobody would expect based on what they perceive about you? And there could be, many different answers, but for example, my favorite food, and I think it is, telling that someone would be willing to share what they like to eat. My favorite thing on the planet, and everyone who knows me knows this, is, grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. I eat these tomatoes every single day, and I am hangry if I don't have tomatoes. Don't ask me why. But, things like that, really reveal different parts of people, right? So you get resumes, you might get a biography, and, it's telling you about these sort of macro, sometimes often high level roles that someone may have played or has had, and, work that they've done. But, do you really get to know somebody? So, what kind of books do you like to read? What's your favorite kind of music? And I like when I'm able to throw somebody off. They're like, oh, I would have never, ever thought that you would like that type of music, right? So I think that, to answer your question in a general way.
Thank you. And I never would have thought that you get hangry if you don't have cherry or grape.
Oh my goodness. Just please ask my family. Well, you know what? You should ask my family what happens if they eat my tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very generous, and I will always share food. But, there's something about these tomatoes, that come in like a little pint, that if you don't really appreciate the beauty of the tomato, like, really, why do you want to eat it? So
that's crazy. I actually have some in the fridge in the back of my office that a customer brought me. So
enjoy them.
I wish I could get them to you.
They're such a great treat. To me, it's like candy. It's really like candy.
Awesome. What is unique about you, or a special talent, or what excites you that we haven't already talked about, Anzala?
Something that's unique about me. I think we all are unique, so it's kind of hard to say that.
Mhm.
A special talent, I love dancing. I went to school, I went to college for theater and dance, and decided my junior year that I would apply to law school. And again, I had lots of counselors saying, "Oh my goodness, you were a theater major. You had to be political science, and how are you going to do that?" But I think one of the things that really excites me, two things: space, open spaces. So open spaces, because I'm always looking at a space as, what could be done in here, right? Everything from museum galleries or art exhibits or art collections, like pop-up art collections. I'll walk into a particular room or a space, and especially if it's empty, I'm always imagining, oh, you could do that with this room. Oh, you could do that with that room. And it all lives in my head, right? Because
Mhm.
I would not say that the spaces that I occupy or even design are, just these abstract works of art, but I really like space, for events, for people convening and, you know, networking and connecting with each other. So I walk into spaces all of the time, even the supermarket. I'm like, no, that should be over there. And this would be better. This would be more open, but I really, really love space, and warehouses are my favorite,
How
because it's just, someone would say, oh, it's dark in here. It's cold. The material of the walls is so cold. But, in my mind, I'm like creating this entirely different venue that's absolutely beautiful, warm, welcoming, and full of energy. So
that's
space.
that's awesome. So I'm going to the Showcase of Home Saturday. You want to come?
Oh, sure. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. I'd love to. Love
All
to.
right. I want you to leave us with the best advice that you have ever received.
So this was a hard one. I really am so grateful, because I really do have this strong network of just incredible people, mostly women, that just have always been in my life and that I have always been able to rely on. So I'm always receiving really good nuggets of wisdom and advice. But this piece of advice means so much more to me today than it ever did before. And it's asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And, for me, I don't know, I've heard in other conversations with other women that, especially at work, right? And depending on what field you're in or industry you're in, and, what gender identity makeup of that industry is, that asking for help is seen as a weakness. And I have always, like I don't want to burden people. I don't want to, ask people for too much. And but I have really embraced, and I would say over the past 3 years, turning it into a superpower. And look, it just and it's not even about humility. It's not about it's just, we're human beings, right? We are good at what we're good at. We have we all have the same time in a day. We all have all of these really important priorities and commitments and obligations to ourselves and other people. And asking for help, especially as a woman, is sort of like an act of, self integrity and preservation. And I tell you, 3 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm going to make it a superpower. And I was so shocked to find that people loved to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. And people say yes all of the time. I was at a women of color networking, women of color, Capital District Women of Color professional networking group about 2 weeks ago. We had a luncheon just to reconvene and see. We hadn't, most of us, we like live on virtual and social media, but it was the first time that many of us were together in a year plus. And there were about 60 of us in the room. And I was looking around the room and I was like, oh my gosh, I've asked almost all of these women, I could say save a hand few for help. And none of them have ever said no. And if they weren't able to do it, come and speak to the Achievers, come and speak to youth in government. I have a young woman that wants to do what you do. Do you have 5 minutes to talk with her and mentor her? They never say no, never say no. No one ever felt overly burdened. Everybody was always just so happy that someone thought of them to ask for help. So again, that's my greatest piece of advice that I've received. And especially again, as a mother of four and very active everywhere else, it really does take a village and a network of people that you trust to get it all done. And, now I look at it like the ability to connect all these people, and then you get to see how other things can grow out of those connections that have nothing to do with you, right? So I'm again wearing it as a superpower.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Anzala, this has been such a blessing for me to get to know you. I would love to join your network. I really look forward to getting to know you a little bit more off screen.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time. I know that you've been quite an inspiration and have given our viewers so much to think about and so much to dream about and go after. So thank you very much. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks for having me.